was what I had to pick off. I'm not a photographer. I look pretty pathetic right now. Can you even, are the goats still there? I think so. I think they had to.
island.
Yeah.
Where is Goat Island?
It's right across from the swimming hole. When you
Okay.
come down the hill,
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear us?
if you look to the left, there was an island there that
Okay.
had water around it,
Yeah.
that doesn't have water around it
Right.
anymore. And I kept thinking, well, the goats are cleaning up over in our backyard.
Are you on camping trip?
No, I'm on Cypress Point, so they go over the dam and into the
Yeah.
nice green, you know.
All right, we should be okay.
Okay. I like in the winter, they put that little shack up, so it looks like there's like a little camp over there going on. Oh, yeah.
We're off to the left, Selena's on the right, but she didn't have a camera.
Okay. All right, well, it is 9:09. I'm going to call this meeting of the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Work Group to order. If we could get a roll call, please.
Co-chair Aurora Bryn, co-chair Deborah Hines,
Here.
member Justin Camp,
Here.
member Jason Donaldson, member Lydia Johns,
Here.
member Jerry Moore,
Here.
member Greg Posey,
Here.
member Danny Ross, member Bill Farwater.
I'm assuming we have no public comment? I did
Yeah.
not receive any. Okay.
Nope.
The first items on the agenda are consent agenda. We have a total of 5 meeting minutes to review and approve. I would entertain a motion to pass the consent agenda, or if there's any you need to discuss, we can pull them out. I just kind of reviewed them, so I will make a motion that we accept all of the minutes.
I second that motion.
All right, motion made by member John, seconded by member Moore. You take a vote.
Member Justin Camp,
Aye.
member Lydia Johns,
Aye.
member Greg Posey,
Aye.
co-chair Deborah Hines,
I don't vote.
oh, sorry, member Jerry Moore,
Aye.
I would be an aye. The counting. Everyone, we're gonna move into our regular agenda. Item number 6, review and take appropriate action on the future land use map and chart by K3s and Associates. So if you open up your yellow folder, if you haven't already, you're more than welcome to look at the agenda online as well. You should see these couple of documents. The first is the future land use matrix. And then the second is their physical map and their thoroughfare map. So this is based on that information Brandon gave us last time. They have applied the matrix into the map using color coding. So the purpose of these documents will be to guide planning and zoning in the future in regards to development that comes towards our city. And in addition, it can help guide policy making around those concepts. Specifically if this, if the city is being approached by developers, these guidelines here can help us sort of influence those agreements and decisions. So I don't know if you have more to add, Selena, if you can hear us.
Yeah, we can. Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Hold on, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
oh,
No. Yes. No.
Selena, can you hear us?
Mm-hmm.
She can hear us.
I can
Go
hear
ahead
you
and talk.
guys.
Down
Can
on
you hear
the
me?
bottom right. There you go. I think that's your volume.
Hello? Hello? Testing,
We're gonna get
testing,
feedback if that.
testing. Can you hear me? No. Yes. can hear you.
Selena, are you muted on your side?
No.
Okay. She's not muted on ours, because I see. See where her name is up there?
Mm-hmm. Where's my camera?
What about us at the very, very top? That right there.
Hey,
Can you hear us, Selena?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
can you hear me, guys?
Anybody?
Brendan, can you hear us?
I can hear y'all. Can you hear me?
No, I can't. I can hear Brandon. I can't hear anybody else.
I can hear Selena.
What is going on? Sorry, guys.
It's okay.
If I run this through my speakers, it's gonna backfeed.
Yes, it is. Hello. You calling me over? So they can hear, so the audience can hear Brandon and Selena, but we can't for some reason. Thank you. So the public can hear them. Did you catch that, Suzanne? I don't know if that helps.
No. Okay, let's try this.
Is there like a volume button on the TV or something?
Ouch.
This computer on can be influencing it, could it?
It shouldn't. No, cancel.
That is broken.
We've had this Zoom them in before.
We've had this issue before. Okay.
Sorry, guys.
It's okay.
So I think while we troubleshoot this, Selena, we're gonna move forward in the agenda and we'll come back to you all just in an
Okay.
effort to respect everyone's time because sometimes this can take a little while. So we're gonna pause on item 6 and we're gonna look at the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation to the comprehensive plan. They looked at the final version, draft 3, so that was the one that we sent to them. Their recommendations are in this separate side sheet you have printed out. Most of them I went ahead and input it into the plans, the final draft, just because I figured to me none of it was really controversial or without merit. So Tamara Robertson is the newest member of P&Z, so I added her to the page of acknowledgements. She also provided us information with addressing the number of rentals in the community. That I just kind of stuck in on page, it's at the bottom of page 11 of the plan. It says around 70 homes are long-term rentals in Wood Creek. I wasn't really sure where the best location for that is. It might have been more appropriately put under housing. So I could move it to that. those were the two spots that we're looking at putting it.
Which page is housing on?
13.
I don't know, I think it goes with housing better than statistics. but-
There's so many page numbers on each
Yeah.
Look to the left.
Yeah.
Look to the left of the bottom.
The ones on the right are the numbers for the agenda packet itself, and then the ones on the left are the actual.
Okay, gotcha. I think it goes well with housing.
Okay, so I'll move that, bullet down to housing. I had a note in here to the city, basically they made a comment that we need to update our population signs as soon as we get the 2020 census data, so that's just in there for reference. They asked that we add small business, or sorry, home-based, to clarify small businesses, what those were. And so that is on page 13 as well at the bottom.
Yeah.
It talks about commercial enterprises, so I added home-based after small. I realized that I think I omitted adding light pollution in here, which was a recommendation made by Commissioner Saunier, so I'm going to work on that. I had a note and I realized I think I missed that. So he just brought up, so on page, in the environmental analysis, and when we're talking about the environmental, like what is the current conditions, he noted that we discussed air pollution, but we didn't really address, and we addressed dark skies, but we didn't really like mention light pollution as a concern, an environmental condition concern. So he recommended that we put that along with air quality.
Noise pollution.
And yeah, in between noise pollution and air quality. So we referenced dark skies and light pollution, so maybe we should just kind of retitle dark skies to address light pollution would be my solution. What do y'all think about that? Instead of titling it International Dark Skies, we can title it light pollution and then mention that afterwards.
Yeah, because the first sentence is, we are a designated international dark skies community, so I think that would flow fine.
Okay.
So we're gonna do light pollution now?
Yeah, it's gonna say light pollution and then it's gonna address dark skies. And then the other comment he made was, I might have made it, but it was during that conversation was about any publicly lit areas. I don't think we have very many publicly lit areas. In fact, maybe just the entrance sign.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's the only one that, yeah.
So you're gonna put that paragraph underneath air quality?
Well, so that was kind of the original place where he brought it up, but in looking at the document, I think it makes more sense to retitle International Dark Skies Light Pollution, and then just, kind of address the International Dark Skies under it. Because it's there, it's just not titled light pollution, and I think giving it its own category moving forward gives it a little bit more substance. It is an environmental concern. And then I will make sure, moving down into the current conditions, if, I think that was the other place he sort of mentioned that it's not directly titled though. So it says air visibility and quality. We could also, I guess it's there, it's in both. I don't know what we should add to that title. So we're looking at page 33 now. It addresses the lights out for migratory birds. Do you think we need to add something there under current conditions for light pollution?
Page 32.
33.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I don't know how you would put that in there without seeming enforcement.
It already mentions light pollution. What were you thinking about adding?
Commissioner Tanya just sort of mentioned we don't really have a light pollution section. Like none of the titles really address it. even though we addressed dark skies and lights out for migratory birds. It's not like a specific item noted anywhere. So those are the two locations I saw. It might, should be in.
Yeah, I think the dark skies program is kind of more of a sub point of light pollution, and light pollution is a sub point of dark skies.
Right.
Having a paragraph in between the air quality and
Visibility.
visibility is described because it has there's several different points to light pollution. It's bird migration, you address further down in a little more detail, but also just, night sky, stars, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Writing up something, a little blurb, like you have noise pollution and air quality in between, I think that's where that goes.
Okay. So you're talking about page 23
Yeah.
under environmental concerns.
Not page 23, 25.
Page 25.
Yeah.
Air quality and pollution, and just, I'll have to add, and that's gonna shift things down a little bit, but that's all right, we can add a page and shift things down.
Okay. The next thing they asked that we change the dark sky photos, that was actually the mayor, because we got a new, sign design from, Pat Rawlings. And so we subbed it out for the previous photo there. It's on page 23, Wood Creek, a dark sky
So
community.
that's the new one?
I made a note, this is way down in the document. If we're moving too fast, let me know. If we can slow it down. Obviously, I'm very familiar with this document, so I
Well,
tend to jump
I think
around.
we all are too, it's just that we just, wherever we made changes, we just need to call it out.
So they made a comment about how a lot of people do not understand that the road from the top of the hill going down to the bridge over Cypress Creek, running in front, I'm looking for it too, sorry. It's a note on a street map. And I had it in my head where it is. Okay, it's on page 53. So on the left-hand side, those page numbers, if you look at 53, I put a note into this chart here that tells us that portion of the road running from the top of the hill to like in front of Cypress Point down to the bridge is not actually owned by Wood Creek. It's not under Wood Creek maintenance. It's a privately owned road. They asked that we note this, and specifically they were referencing this graph because if you look at where it says community street priorities, this is where people are asking us to improve the roads. And so if you look at that, like one of the larger ratings, 9.7% of the people that attended the future land use meeting said that they wanted us to work on Wood Creek Drive near Cypress Point. Unfortunately, the city does not have direct influence or control over that. I talked with the owner. We've attempted to try to establish some sort of negotiation over it. There's also confusion about whether or not the city can use city funds on a privately owned piece of land. So it's kind of a work in progress, that area. I know the owner has had it reviewed for safety, and there is no safety concern. So that's always, kind of number one. And if that's checked off, then okay, it's maybe hard on our vehicles and ugly to look at, but if nobody's in immediate danger, then.
Who's the owner?
It's a family, but Lindsay Hastings is the person essentially running it and charged with.
Why would they want to keep it besides if they could get more money for it at a different time?
So Cypress Falls generates a large amount of income from weddings. specifically as a wedding venue, and with weddings come photography. And since they own that other side of the creek, it prevents people from parking there or, you know, mowing all the vegetation down. So that's their backdrop for all their wedding photos. So by leaving it raw and, you know, unused, they ensure that they have photos. Same with the bridge. The bridge is a big backdrop. That's why they don't want to let go ownership of the bridge, because then they have no control whether people are fishing on it or jumping off of it or parking around it. So, yeah.
Which they already do, but.
Right. And, you know, people have been concerned about fire hazards, but I will tell you, by us leaving that area, or by her really, I say us, but by her leaving that area untamed is probably the best word for it. It's actually really good for the creek bed and to prevent flooding. That those grasslands are essential. And so I don't, you know, I can't weigh fire hazard versus flooding concerns, which one is worse or more important. But you know, the more we leave our creek beds raw and untampered, the better.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's, okay, so,
That's
yeah.
great.
They,
I typed in cybersquid to find it and I found a quick, Hog Creek on page
30,
on page 30.
right, I need help with typos always, I cannot see them easily.
Well, and that's the thing, is we've looked at this so much
Yeah.
that it just, sorry, those things are not popping out at us anymore.
Yeah, I don't even feel like I'm reading.
I only really catch my typos when I've already sent out the publication.
There it is. It's creaking, not creek.
I'll say it.
Correct.
C-R-I-K.
Okay,
No, it's C-R-E-A-K.
No, I.
yeah,
I see it.
all right, I fixed it, I'm actually working in the document now live to address stuff, so that's positive. Hi, Brendan and Selena, we have them on the phone now, we're gonna wrap up this portion of the meeting here in just a second, and then we'll move back to you guys, okay? Great, so, there were 2 typos they caught, and I fixed both of them. On page, I think it was 60,
Oh, yeah.
we had misspelled 501c3, and I believe I fixed that now. We had, the wrong numbers and too many, parentheses.
501c3 on 60.
Yeah, so is that the bottom of the page, I believe? Oh, is it not on 60?
It's not on 60.
It was on 60 in their packet, that's the issue.
Okay.
So in their packet, it was page 60. What,
62.
is it 62 for us?
Online.
Yep, there it is. On the bottom of, under strategy 4.
Yeah, 62. So I believe I fixed it, 501 parentheses C, lowercase parentheses 3. Yeah, you got it, page 62.
I got another one.
Yeah.
On the future land use matrix page, page 67, there's an activity, vertical mixed use that's, is this Barrett column.
Okay, so that's on K3. So Brandon, are you catching this?
Yeah. Bring up the document here,
Okay. All right, so we got that, and then the last thing that P and Z noted was plotting should have 2 Ts, and I fixed that. So I think I caught it throughout I only did it once in the document, I believe. It said plating instead of plotting, but
Hey, if those are the only few typos that we had left, I was gonna say, that's not bad.
you know what's funny is that word is actually commonly misspelled.
Which word?
Plotting.
Oh, yeah.
It is frequently spelled plating because your spell check doesn't catch it. Plating is a word.
It really doesn't like either.
Oh, yeah. I don't like to replay.
So they throw it on the ground.
Yeah, we have a 5-second rule.
Yeah, we do too. After that, the dog gets it.
I don't make my kids eat all the Oreo ice cream.
Whatever you say.
You know, if it's a piece of pizza, it's just like a.
Knock the dog hair off of it and go off.
Well, these floors are big enough to eat off of at all times, right?
No comment. If Jacob's watching, I know he's not good. It's like,
Deborah, do you want me to start with the map,
uh,
with the matrix, or what would you like to start with?
so let us wrap this up. I was just kind of waiting to see if you caught that typo that they found, on page 60, sorry. Actually, it's on your matrix, it's under regional. It's, it says vertical instead of vertical. Okay. Were there any other typos or anything throughout the document that we need to address in this moment? Because we will come back to it. I know sometimes if you have something in your head and we move on, it can be lost. Okay, so those were the P and Z edits, and then, so we just need to take a vote. Like I said, most of them have already been implemented. I felt like they were pretty non-controversial. The only, the light pollution one was probably the biggest change in the whole document that was something to vote on even. The rest of it was sort of just fixing errors. So we will move on to item 8, where we vote to implement those changes, just for procedural
I move
standards.
that we implement the changes recommended by planning and zoning.
Just there.
Member Lydia John?
Aye.
Member Jerry Moore?
Aye.
Member Greg Posey? Member Justin Camp?
Awesome, thank you. All right, we're gonna go back to item 6 and let K-Freeze start their discussion. Brandon, you did discuss the matrix with us already, so unless you have more to add with that, yeah. Did y'all have any questions about the matrix? I think most of us were here, maybe, Greg, maybe you and Jerry weren't here. I don't remember. You were here. Maybe you weren't.
I was, Jerry was.
Okay.
I apologize, I just let that.
Oh, it's fine. It's all right. That's all right. So yeah, so the matrix just kind of reviews future land uses and categorizes them for us. And then Brandon, if you'd like to take it from here.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah, I had a lot of fun working on this. So looking at the future land use map, hopefully the matrix starts to make a little bit more sense. And really we have to look at the future land use map and the thoroughfare map. That's really how the matrix comes together. And so what we've done for you here is basically we've broken down all your street types into either rural street types, neighborhood street types, community street types, or regional street types. And so really the street type that you're on really determines what kind of uses you can do. But that depends on what your what kind of land use classification you have. And so those two working together really determines the kind of uses. And the reason why we employ the system is because really the kind of street that serves adjacent developments really determines the intensity and the type of land use that goes through. You don't put a single family home on a regional street, right? Same way you don't put a hotel on a neighborhood street. So traditionally we do zoning and we just kind of zone in blocks. And in a perfect world, zoning is a function of the street, but a lot of times it's not. So Selena might kind of take a different approach to zoning that tries to marry zoning a lot more with the street. So again, that's what we've done here. So when you look at the matrix, it's kind of the two maps in the matrix, they all go together. It's kind of a decision-making process system. So say if you look at the matrix, say you got the neighborhood street that say you have a rural street that has a rural classification, well then those are the things you can do on it. So it's limited to those things, and those are uses that are appropriate for a rural street with a rural classification. Same thing with a neighborhood. If you've got a neighborhood classification street, things are gonna be limited because, there's a lot of places out in ETJ where you have to small a lot, you've got rural streets out there, so does it make sense to have townhouses on that? No, that street's not designed for that type of use. And so, or similarly, you have, most of Wood Creek streets are neighborhood streets. So, so then, accordingly, most of those areas have a neighborhood classification on them, so then you can see those are the things that can be done on those streets.
Hey, Brendan, I want to jump in here real fast, because this is something we talked about in the last meeting and something that is still kind of hanging for me as a concern. I don't know if you have access to our agenda or if you want to pull up your future land use documents, but if we could bring the whole team onto page 54 of our comp plan itself. And if you're looking at inside of our agenda packet, this is actually, let me see. So this is actually page 75 in the actual agenda packet. So during the future land use meeting, you used a chart that is in our document now. And we had citizens rating what kind of improvements or transportational system elements they would like to see on these streets based on these categorizations. And so we also have like a chart based on the citizen impact. So there's 3 different visuals here, all referencing your use of terms, and it differs slightly from your future land use map. And this is kind of where we were getting hung up in the last discussion about what these terms mean, what they don't mean. And then this also impacts our glossary. So when I wrote the glossary, I defined the terms based on this map on page 54. Then I got your future land use map last week on Wednesday or Thursday, I don't remember what day it was. Yeah, whatever it was. But anyway, so when I looked at this map, remember I sent off an email real fast and said, hey, can you change Wood Creek Drive to a community street? And I originally also added Brook Hollow because I was in my head thinking of this and the concept we talked about the amount of traffic on community streets and how people move through them into other areas of the community or even other communities. So, and then I retracted that email because I was like, you know what? I'm going to save this for the meeting, and I think we need everybody's feedback on this. So my concern is how these 2 maps don't exactly match up, right? And whether or not they should, or if I'm missing something in my understanding of why they don't match up.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, Lee and I, we made those maps prior to the meeting, just kind of based on our own concept of the way the streets function. And then coming out of the meeting, the takeaway was that the community is not really interested in seeing large lots, and they're not really interested in seeing super small lots either. They're just really by and large, the community wants to see 130-acre lots. That's pretty overwhelming. And so, this is kind of where the community feedback might be so important, because sometimes appointed officials see things a certain way, sometimes planners see things a certain way from the outside, but really what matters is what the community says they see. And like I said, the community says they see 130-acre lots. And so that becomes an interesting thing, because then when you call something a community street, that usually means that it is definitely used by the entire community, and that a lot of times the land uses on that community street sometimes reflect things that are used by the entire community. So, but again, the community says they just want to see 130-acre lots, which is generally what's on that street right now, even maybe just a little bit smaller. So that's why I'm going back, looking at it, and it's like, well, it's really kind of like, it's still a neighborhood feeling street. I don't know if those residents there on that street want to feel like their street is designated as something that's supposed to be used by the entire community. They kind of, so my thinking was, I change that, and my thinking like I said, the community wants to see 130 to life, that's kind of neighborhood, it's not full neighborhood scale, neighborhood density, and so you can still incorporate the street improvements on that street, but you'll still call it kind of a neighborhood street.
Okay.
That's
So-
not a collector street, you know, if you will, which then signifies higher density, with more trips, you know, when you can talk about that. We want people on the street, you know, and I think the basic community does, because they want to keep low density. So I think it's okay to change my opinion, and I think it's okay to have something different on the map. Then you have community meetings, that's the whole point, you get feedback from the community, and, you know, things might change after.
So in proposing a solution, how do we, because in reality, Wood Creek Drive is a community street, but like in the way that it's used, people move through Wood Creek on that street to get from one side of the valley to the other. Specifically, parents dropping off kids at schools utilize Wood Creek Drive and Jacobs Well Road to cross between our two elementary schools. So how do we, if we're presenting this document to the public, how do we help them understand these two differences or how it changed? Like, what is our solution? What do we need to add to this to make sure that it's like clear how these terms are changing or being used? Because we could address it in the glossary, we could add notes onto the two maps, we could add some conversation around the future land use map, like a paragraph there sort of outlining this, but I feel like there needs to be something addressing why we see this shift in the designation of streets, how these terms are being used, because at one point, community street is being used to also talk about the amount of traffic flow, right? So we have two different things going on. One is traffic flow and use of street versus use of land around the street.
Right.
I think we can make a great, one thing we could do is, you know, have, you could have two different types of community streets. You know, we could have a kind of a core community street, and then we could have a general community street, where a core community street is one that's, you know, used by the community but has, you know, existing neighborhood kinds of uses on it, you know, low density kinds of uses. So, you know, the street is designed to carry more of the traffic of the community, but at the same time, you know, from a land use perspective, it still needs to stay pretty low density on either side of it. I think that's the solution right there. You know, we could still call it a community street. We could change the map if you want to, and just insert a new street sign.
No, I don't. So I don't want to change the maps because we really do need to finish this up. I think just some sort of language or a note to be made to kind of explain this better is really all that we need.
Well, some of our neighborhood streets are collector streets is what they are. I mean, you know, you're talking about those community streets. Community streets would be more of a, you know, thoroughfare type things, which we were in the past calling collectors. So like Brook Hollow and Champion Circle and Wood Creek Drive, we were calling collector streets at one point. And I think that's where the confusion may be coming in.
I mean, it's not as much confusion for me as it is wanting people to understand that the way Wood Creek Drive is used by the community is different than the way that we want to see the land around it used.
Exactly.
So we need Wood Creek Drive to remain a neighborhood street and land use around it versus we understand that the road itself is a community street. That is unless they ever closed access to Cypress Point and the British Street. I know that there's been talk about that in the community about closing down all the entrances except for the ones on Ranch Road 12. I'm not advocating for that, or that's neither here nor there, but that's the only thing I could see that would ever really shift the use of Brook Hollow and Wood Creek Drive specifically.
Exactly.
So, Brandon, are you okay with us essentially adding a note to just sort of say we understand that the use of the street itself as a community street would remain, but that this map is talking about the land use around the street?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay, so I think that's how we'll solve that. seems to me like the simplest, way to do it. I mean, unless y'all have any other feedback.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Brendan and Selena, did y'all have anything else you wanted to add or discuss?
No, ma'am.
Well, y'all did great work, and I think I can even edit your matrix, because I believe that the one that you sent us is just an open document, so I think I can fix that, and we'll just put in the new screenshot. But if you just want to change your records as well, or if you've already sent it to me, that's great.
No, absolutely. Thanks, guys. Is this goodbye?
I think for the comp plan group, yes, yes, it is. So.
Let me turn on my camera. We good.
We hope so anyway, sorry. We're ready.
Love you guys. It's been fun.
Thanks.
Well,
Thank you.
sounds great to chat.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Selena, as
Thanks,
well.
Selena.
Thank you.
All right. You just let us know.
All right. Thank you so much. So I wanted to,
Wait, there's Shalene.
Bye.
Oh, she left.
I also wanted to, Suzanne, I don't know, your phone's, oh, there we go. Thank you for letting us do that.
Of course.
Oh, he's got it. So Mayor Pro Tem LeBrun is in surgery today, so we're wishing her a easy surgery, speedy recovery, no complications. It's a standard thing it's like not an elective surgery, but it's not an emergency, I guess is what I'm saying. It's a planned thing. So she did want to pass on that she's sorry she can't be here, and that she's so grateful for everything you all have done, and that she is proud of the work that we have created. And she's, like I said, sorry she can't be here specifically. She really wanted to share in this last meeting with us, but she is reviewing the plan and giving feedback on it. So, yeah, she's still participating. I know she missed one meeting for health concerns, and then this one was a planned surgery that she could hear.
But she sent a really nice,
Good.
statement just then.
Oh, great. Okay, good.
And I
didn't-
responded.
Thank you. Good. Well, I'm glad she sent that out to everyone. I have not checked my email since Friday, so I am behind the times of it. So, anyway, all right. Well, let's keep going. So we're back down to item 10. So we're going to discuss and take appropriate action on essentially closing the comprehensive plan advisory work group. So the first thing we would need is a motion to send this plan to planning and zoning for a final review with the edits we discussed today. Those being moving the rental house comment down, addressing light pollution in a separate paragraph, and then working on specifically that one, the terminology in the maps about community streets. I've already fixed all the minor typo things you brought up. Again, if you happen to notice any of those between now and the planning and zoning thing, we can keep editing this document essentially until it goes to council, as long as it's minor edits and nothing substantial. It's easy to add with minor edits. Okay, so that's the first motion before we close would be to send this to P&Z with the edits we discussed today.
I would like to move that we send this to P and Z with the edits that we put in by their recommendations.
I second the motion.
Member Jerry Moore.
Aye.
Member Greg Posey.
Aye.
Member Justin Camp.
Aye.
Member Lydia Jones.
Aye.
Now do we have a motion to?
Yeah, so we need a motion essentially to close the work group and declare that we feel our work is done. So it would essentially dismiss you all from your efforts. I know that Mayor Whitehead has already sent out a certification to many of the members that were under, whenever she was the mayor. I don't know what Mayor Roscoe has planned, if anything, for everyone. I know that he is sincerely grateful for our work and will likely communicate that in some manner, but, yeah, I think we just need to officially close our work group and then we can officially close the meeting.
I move that we officially close the comprehensive plan work group. Our work is done.
Second.
Okay, member Greg Posey?
Aye.
Member Justin Camp?
Aye.
Member Lydia Johns?
Aye.
Member Jerry Moore?
Absolutely. Aye.
Thanks, Jerry. I like the enthusiasm.
I move we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
9:54, the meeting, the final meeting of the comprehensive plan work group is officially closed. Thank you all.
Yes.
Yes, it is yours. You can burn it, keep it, put it on a shelf, look at it every morning, whatever you want to do.
So have the binder that was made for us the very first day.
I've got mine also somewhere.
Return it for office resources.
Yeah, we use the binders all the time.
You know, just as an unofficial aside